It actually feels a little strange that my first YouTube video is going to be about this. I always thought it's going to be about some musician stuff, but it's just that honestly, this is probably the most truthful thing I can share. And for those who don't know me, my name is Yaroslava. I live in Germany and I'm currently studying classical guitar in a conservatory. And for most of my life, I knew exactly who I was, or I thought I did. I was a guitarist, and it was not just a hobby, not just a profession for me, but it was like my identity. And my social media was built around it, my goals, my dreams, and everything was pointed in one direction for me. To become a better guitarist, to get more concerts, and to build a concert career. And for years I genuinely believed that was what I wanted. I spent years studying music, practicing for hours every day. If you asked me whether I love music, I would definitely say yes. If you asked me if I love guitar, I would say yeah, kinda like, yes, I like music more than guitar, but guitar is a nice tool to express that. I was really willing to work hard. I participated in competitions. I had my solo concerts. My entire life was built around this path. There was only one thing I kept avoiding, and it was organizing concerts for myself. This all contacting locations, sending emails, introducing myself, offering myself, and so on. I was gladly imagining myself as a concert performer. I really wanted to have my life depend on that financially. I wanted this as my main occupation. But I could never force myself to just sit and send that email, to just act for the sake of organizing concerts. And actually I always had a great reason for that. I never had time, I was too busy, I needed to practice, my technique was not yet kinda ready, my repertoire was not yet there. I had to earn money, I had to still earn enough money to pay for my website. Just all the adult life things which were preventing me from actually taking time and sitting and sending these emails. And actually now, if I think about that, I started to approach this point where I could say, oh, now I'm actually ready. Somewhere like in March, April this year, when I would think yeah, I actually can do it now. But what's missing is a proper email and a presentation for me. And that was the point when I started taking coaching sessions somewhere which is called Music Career Center. It's a program my university offers. And that was really the first time where people helped me to put everything together. Like, we really worked on my presentation, we created a strategy, we wrote emails for me to send. And that was exactly the moment when I couldn't tell myself anymore, I'm not ready yet. Because that was exactly the point where I was perfectly ready. I had everything. My technique was ready. My repertoire was ready. I was finally where I wanted to be. I entered the master program with a professor who I wanted to study with since years. I came to Germany to study with him, actually, 7 years ago, or 8. I even had the list of locations I could potentially contact. Yeah, and what happened afterwards was just nothing. Like, I gave myself a week to pack it all together, to write these emails, to just sit down and spend an hour doing that. And after that week just came another and yet another and another week of I don't have time yet to just sit down and do that. Maybe next month, maybe after this day, maybe after I finish this project, maybe. Now it's been 2 months and nothing has happened yet. And that was really confusing, because if it was my dream, why would I avoid this so much? And I actually think now I'm at this point of my life where I don't force myself anymore to do anything, but instead I just ask myself different kind of questions. And like these, sometimes I arrive to some sometimes unexpected answers. So the question was exactly that. If I want the concerts really badly, if I really need them, then why can't I just find an hour a day to really sit down and do that? And then, well, somewhere around the time I started noticing some moments, some mental shifts probably that made me reflect even stronger. Once I attended a concert of my very good friend, and I was really enjoying the evening. I was well rested, in a very good mood, and suddenly I had a thought, and it was a kind of a thought that really scared me at first. So the thought was like, thank God I don't have to be on stage right now. Not like it always happened to me before. Before I used to think, oh, I wish I was on stage right now. I also would like to get all this attention, and I would also like to have this opportunity to perform myself. But it was just a very big relief that I was sitting in the audience and not performing on stage. And that thought just stayed with me. After that one, I started noticing something else. For example, posts from my colleagues announcing an upcoming tour or concerts or whatever. They used to make me jealous a bit. I'm used to this. I used to think, oh, such a great tour, so many concerts. I wish I also had this many, or I wish I could also organize a tour for me. And suddenly they stopped making me jealous. Suddenly I thought, oof, thanks God, I don't have to play that tour. And that was the point where I started asking myself a slightly different kind of question. So before that, I would ask myself, why am I not organizing concerts for me? And after that one, I would ask myself, do I actually want them? Do I actually want to have concerts, to play concerts? And I was very surprised to discover that actually this is not exactly what I would like to have. I'm sorry for the switch, it just started to rain outside. So I don't know if you understand the catastrophe, the potential catastrophe of such realization. I don't know if you know, but for a musician, and for a classical musician maybe even more, having concerts is like an ultimate goal of the whole career, of the whole path. Like you start or you decide to study, to become a musician, because you want to perform, to play concerts, to be on stage, because you like that and you want to share your music. Of course, we have examples such as Glenn Gould, who hated performing, and Horowitz, who crashed his career at some point because of being traumatized while performing. But let's just distract from this and remember that at the very beginning, musician is a stage performer. And to tell myself, to admit to myself that I don't want to play concerts is like, then why am I doing all this, right? Why have I been doing all these studies, all the things I was doing till this point, yeah? What is the meaning of that? I remember the first weeks after this realization, I would attend seminars, doing everything which had to do with my studies, having these intrinsic thoughts, like this makes no sense. Why studying this orchestral work, discovering the details of the Ravel's instrumentation, if I even don't want to work in this field? I even don't want to be there. Like, why? And seeing all the people so really obsessed with all these little details and structures, they just don't speak to me anymore. They just don't, I don't feel like I belong there. And studying the complex pieces and repertoire, why, if maybe for me what would be absolutely fine and enough is just to play guitar for me, for my own pleasure, and occasionally share some videos with you, and that's it. Why investing all the time and effort which I could have invested in discovering the field I would like to discover, sending applications to a different kind of job I really would like to work, and not that kind of job I'm doing now, and studying actually for that yet another field I'm curious about. And all these little frustrations, they're just now floating around me. So yeah, I just think I allowed myself to be with this thought of, what if I actually don't want to have concerts? What if actually this big dream that I've been following for years is no longer driving me? What if I actually have overgrown this big goal and the dream I've been following for years? And suddenly just being a guitarist felt like no longer 100% true for me. It would be maybe for now 20%, maybe 30%. Still meaningful, still important, but it's no longer the whole picture. I think this is the part that has been difficult, because when you spend years on building an identity and then you overgrow it, there isn't immediately a new one waiting for you on the other side. There's just uncertainty, a lot of uncertainty, and many, many questions. On the other hand, this helps me to understand, to draw parallels of why have I been procrastinating with my social media for this long, why it has been inconsistent for a long time, because I was still trying to act from that old identity, already being somewhere else. And this always feels like fake, because I don't feel like just posting guitar videos or my playing without saying anything else anymore. Of course, sometimes I do and I will, but it's not the base anymore. It's just an addition, maybe. This is why I also don't have a conclusion to this video. I'm just trying myself in different roles for now. Actually, I've been trying that within last few years, or a year for sure. I'm very much interested in teaching adults, working with adults, in creating content, maybe even creating content for musicians or for music, even if it's not my music. So I could create another video about where do I see myself now, but I just wanted to maybe start this YouTube channel with something what describes myself the best at the moment. And this is this uncertainty and openness to something new, trying myself in new, different roles. And I honestly don't know whether this is a crisis or growth. Maybe it's both. For a very long time I thought I wasn't disciplined enough or I wasn't working hard enough. But I guess at the end the problem is way simpler than that. I think I was just trying to become a version of myself which is not me anymore. And if you ever experience something like this, like overgrowing your dream, changing direction, or realizing you are more than the identity you built your life around, I would genuinely love to hear your story, and this would be really empowering and inspiring for me. And I guess thank you for being here for my first YouTube video. Hope for more, and see you then.